guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the new location. I hope you like it. Give me a name for this. What should we call it? Because it's not the bamboo in the garden. It's not the laundry room. It's something else. I don't know. If you see, we've got the Queen here on the Union Jack. So I don't know. Maybe we could call it the Queen's Ivy Wall. I don't know. I mean, that's not a very good idea. But if you have some catchy names, let me know in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy this video. If you could give us a thumbs up and a sub and a comment and all that fun stuff, that would be much appreciated. Thank you for finding the video, I should also say. So what are we here to talk about today? This is my Asian Cinema Circle Origins video. This is a very, very late video. I was supposed to record this months ago, but I'm actually pretty sick right now. And I've been sick for like 3 weeks, and it's just taken me forever to get around to having the energy to record this video. I might be kind of low energy in this video, and I apologize for that, but that's because I'm still sick. But I was like, if I don't do this video now, I'm never going to do it, so I might as well just do it. So what is this video about? I am a member of what we call the Asian Cinema Circle, which is really just kind of an informal group of people who have channels on YouTube that are dedicated to Asian cinema, and there's amazing people in this group. So it's like Flip Otaku, and it's Huss, who does A Touch of Film, and it's Sid, who does Cool Moviegram, which is a great channel that you should go and check out. And then there's Andrew Amflet, who you'll know if you watch this channel because he and I send each other movies pretty frequently. There's Johnny, the Fanatical Dragon, Caleb from Caleb's Kung Fu Cinema, who's like an awesome dude. I've gotten to know him recently via like Facebook Messenger and stuff like that. Just a super nice person who's like a huge fan of the movies. There's Jason, who does Martial Arts Theater 3000, and there's Tristan, who does Martial Arts Film Freak. There's Jake, who does Jake on Film. There's Gary Williams, and there's like, it's just this big group of people, and we all, and obviously I can't forget Leon and Shaz, who do Hong Kong Blu-rays, who are like the founders of the whole concept of the Asian Cinema Circle. So shout out to them. I'm going to put links in the description of this video to everyone who's in the Asian Cinema Circle, so you can go and subscribe to their channels and get to know them and stuff like that. But it's a really, really cool group of people, and I'm very privileged to be a part of that. And so I think it was Jason who came up with the idea for this video, Jason from Martial Arts Theater 3000, who suggested the idea that we do an origins video where we talk about how we got into martial arts movies in the first place. So this is an interesting thing for me, because if I were to do like a strict origins video for this channel, because it's a Hong Kong cinema channel, it would be how I got into Hong Kong cinema. But the topic that Jason suggested was very specifically how we got into martial arts cinema. And so I thought, why don't I just do that? Because most people who watch this channel know how I got into Hong Kong cinema. And if you are interested, if you haven't heard me tell that story before, I can do a separate video where I talk about that. But I don't really talk that much about how I first got into martial arts films specifically. So I thought that might be kind of an interesting topic for a video. So that's what I'll be talking about today. So we have to go way back to my childhood. I'm going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to go forward to give you an idea of my background that led me into martial arts films, because I didn't get really into martial arts films until I was in my 20s, but there was a long path that led me there. So we're going back to 1989. June of 1989, on a Sunday night, my mom took me and my brother to the mall to see the Tim Burton Batman movie. We saw it the Sunday after it came out. So if I'm not mistaken, it came out June 23rd of 1989, and the reason I remember that is the 23rd is Michael Jordan's jersey number, right? I think that's when it came out. So it would have been the 25th. I might be wrong, but it was around then. So maybe the 25th of June, we went and we saw the Tim Burton Batman movie. I was 6 years old, and it just blew my mind. And that was like my first favorite movie. And I was obsessed with it. And I got like the toys. I had the t-shirt with the black t-shirt with the big black and yellow bat insignia on it. And I had the hat. And I was just a diehard Batman fan. And that really started my love of like action movies, sci-fi movies, violent movies, dark movies, weird movies. Because, Tim Burton's, that movie is weird. And especially Batman Returns, when I saw that when that came out. That is a weird, dark, and violent movie. I rewatched it recently. Like, that movie is batshit insane. And so really Batman is the beginning of my love of films that have violence and like fighting and stuff in them. But at the time, that was not the focus for me. The focus was this insane world and the storytelling and the ambiance and the visuals and stuff like that, right? So then we move forward to a couple years later, Terminator 2 comes out. And I think like a lot of people of my generation, I just became obsessed with that movie. I'm like, John Connor is the coolest person ever. I want to be riding around on a dirt bike like that. I want to be running away from the T-1000. Like, that was my next favorite movie. And the next movie I watched over and over again. And again, it's like a dark, violent, genre film. And so that's just kind of what I was attracted to. And I was actually so obsessed with Terminator 2 that as a class project in 3rd grade, I wrote Terminator 3 because I was like, I don't want to wait for the sequel. And it turns out I waited way too long for the sequel. And I will tell you that mine was better anyway. But I was just so into it that I was like, I don't want to wait for the next one to come out. I'm going to write the next one. And that was the first time I actually ever sat down and like really purposefully tried to write like something movie related, right? Because if you know, I went to grad school for screenwriting, so that's kind of like my origins for that. And when we had to draw self-portraits in 3rd grade that they were going to put up for back to school day, and I drew myself on a Harley with the shotgun with the shades like Schwarzenegger, and I got in trouble for that because like you can't have a gun at back to school night. And I'm like, I don't know, I just want to be Schwarzenegger. But I was really into Schwarzenegger, right? So like Kindergarten Cop and all those movies, and then I got into Seagal. And I saw Above the Law and I saw Under Siege. And so I didn't really know that these are martial arts films or that Steven Seagal was a martial artist. I just thought of them as like badass action movies, violent movies with kind of a dark tone. And I also just liked the stars. I liked action stars. That was like something that was attractive to me, like Schwarzenegger, Stallone. Like when I was a kid, I lived outside of Philadelphia. So the Rocky movies were really big. And then I saw First Blood and stuff like that. So that was just kind of like the world in which, I was existing in my head as a movie fan as a kid. So then we flash forward a little bit. And I think I was 12 years old. And I was in middle school, and I remember being in my science class because I remember like the Bunsen burners and like those high big lab desks and stuff like that. And we were sitting on these stools waiting for science class to start. And this kid came in and he had seen Rumble in the Bronx over the weekend. And he was like, you gotta see this movie. This guy, Jackie Chan, is insane. He could do all this crazy stuff. And there's a scene with like, he was describing all the fight scenes and the action scenes, right? And I was like, this movie sounds amazing. I gotta see this. I never did end up seeing Rumble in the Bronx, and I honestly can't remember why. I don't know why, but I didn't see that movie. But then First Strike came out, and I believe that was January of 1997 that movie came out in the U.S., and I went to see that right away. I think I was 13 years old at the time, and I just like blew my mind. I loved that movie, and I loved Jackie Chan, and like the scene with the ladder and the snowmobile fighting when he's hanging off the helicopter and he falls down into the ice, and like just the physical ability of Jackie Chan combined with the comedy of it, combined with like the kind of espionage angle of that film. Like I loved James Bond movies, and so I just really liked the approach of that film and the genre of it, and I just became a Jackie fan immediately. And then Operation Condor came out in the US, I think just like 6 or 7 months later. I think it came out in the summer of 97. So I went and I saw that, and I loved that too. And then Rush Hour came out the next year. So I became a huge Jackie Chan fan. But this is not the point at which I get into martial arts movies. To me, Jackie Chan was like a singular figure. He was a guy acting in action films that I loved, who had this crazy ability to do all this physical stuff and these insane stunts with this crazy imagination for stunt work. But I didn't think of it as like strictly martial arts. And I had, by the time I graduated from high school, I think I'd seen like 2 or 3 Bruce Lee movies. I saw Enter the Dragon, I saw Game of Death. I think I saw The Big Boss. I don't remember. I think I saw one of the other ones. And I liked those as movies. I remember especially Enter the Dragon, like the whole kind of James Bond thing where they're like on the island and like the maze and the mirrors, and like I thought that was really cool. But the martial arts was not attractive to me. And part of that was like, I'm like, this is kind of slow. They're not jumping off of buildings. They're not hanging off of buses. Like to me, a martial arts / stunt type of film should be at the level and the speed and the caliber of Jackie Chan, or it wasn't interesting, right? I liked the story of the Bruce Lee films. I liked Bruce Lee's presence as a star, but the martial arts were not interesting to me, right? And over time as a teenager, I saw The Matrix, which came out, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think The Matrix came out on my 16th birthday. So I saw that movie. That movie blew my mind, and I did really like the fighting in that movie. But what I really liked about that movie was the mythology, the world, the visuals. Again, like that's what I was attracted to in filmmaking. And part of this is that I'm not a martial artist, and I never was. And I'm not really an athlete either. And so I wasn't attracted to the physical stuff that they were doing as much as I was attracted to, like, coming from my perspective of like when I was in high school, I did a lot of theater and I was writing my own plays. And so stories and character and arc, and I was acting a lot too, what actors were doing, like that's what was interesting to me. Like the film craft was more interesting to me than the fighting. But I did, in films like The Matrix, for instance, or like with Jackie Chan, like I said, I really did enjoy the physical aspect of it. But then there were movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, right? I loved that movie when it came out, but the fighting, I was like, why are they like running on trees? Like, why can they fly? And why are they standing on the blade of a sword? And like, I thought that was weird. I didn't get it. I did really like, there were two fight scenes in Crouching Tiger I did really like when it came out. I liked the fight scene in the kind of like dojo area between Michelle Yeoh and Zhang Ziyi where they have the weapons and they're just going crazy. I loved that scene. And I liked the scene in the kind of like tea house restaurant thing where Zhang Ziyi is like pretending to be a man and she beats the crap out of everyone in there. But a lot of the fight scenes in that movie, I was like, I don't get it. Like, what are they doing? Why are they flying? Like, it didn't make any sense to me, right? So, and I saw Jet Li movies because I kind of knew that Jet Li was associated with Jackie Chan, and I started seeing some other Hong Kong films. Like I saw Time and Tide, which I loved. But again, like Time and Tide is cinematically, formally, in terms of technique, it's a very interesting movie. Like weird camera angles, like they do the motion control camera where the camera's like going out the window, and like it's a kind of disjointed and strange movie, and that was really intriguing to me. And I wasn't as interested in like the fighting. And same with John Woo. Like the first time I saw Hard Boiled and The Killer, to me it wasn't about what are they doing in these gun battles. Like I remember the first time I saw The Killer, I wanted the gunfights to end so I could get back to the story, right? And now that I get it, and I understand how genius John Woo is at directing action scenes, and I'm more of a fan of action scenes in general. I love watching those movies for the action, but the first time I saw both The Killer and Hard Boiled, my response was kind of like, Jesus Christ, these scenes like go for fucking ever. Like, can we get back to the story? Because that was just kind of where I was coming from, and I had to learn a different way of looking at movies to really, really get and love those films. So what really happened, like I said, I saw Jet Li movies and I liked the movies. I understood that Jet Li was a really good fighter, but the fight scenes were not what was interesting to me. All of that changed because of one person, because of one movie. And it might not be the movie you expect and the person you expect. It's Tony Jaa. In like 2000, I think it was 2007, The Protector came out in the United States. I can't remember if it was 06 or 07. I think it was 2007. I went to see that movie in theaters. I don't remember why. My friend and I just were like, let's go see this Tony Jaa movie. I hadn't seen Ong Bak, and I wasn't aware that movie was out because I wasn't watching like a ton of those types of movies at that time. I was watching Johnny To movies at that time, but I wasn't watching like martial arts or fighting type movies at that time. I was into other stuff. And so I was just like, well, let's go see this movie. Like, it sounds kind of cool, and I bet it's fun. That movie blew my mind. Like, my mind had not been blown by an action film or a martial arts film like that since I first saw like First Strike, and Jackie Chan blew my mind. And I love Tony Jaa. Like, after Jackie, Tony Jaa is like my favorite on-screen martial artist. And like, I'll go so far as to say that I think that Killzone 2 is better than Killzone. SPL2, whatever you want to call him, because of Tony Jaa, because I love Tony Jaa so much. Like, I like Tony Jaa more than I like Donnie Yen, and I'd rather see Tony Jaa in a movie than Donnie Yen. And I know that a lot of people will probably be upset to hear me say that, but it's just true. That's just my personal take on it. But that movie blew my mind. And Tony Jaa's physical ability, his aggression, the brutal nature of those fight scenes, the stunt work that he could do, like in the scene where there's like all those guys on rollerblades and skateboards and bikes and like the four-wheelers, and he's like jumping all around, like it really just like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And the single take scene where they're going up the spiral of that building and he's throwing people off the building and like kneeing the shit out of people, like it just blew my mind. And then I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I get martial arts movies. I get why people love this stuff. And I just started watching a ton more. And that movie, and I started going back too, and I started rewatching Jet Li stuff and being like, yeah, okay, I see this now, I get this. And I saw Ong Bak, and I went forward and saw other Tony Jaa films as they came out, and then like The Raid, when that came out, The Raid 2, and really like through that filter of Tony Jaa and really understanding it beyond Jack, because previous to that, like I said, my reference point was Jackie Chan. I'm like, what is Jackie doing? Everyone else is not doing it as well. And then I saw Tony Jaa do something different, but in my mind, just as well as what Jackie Chan was doing his thing. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get this. And then it just started to evolve from there. I started watching a ton of Shaw Brothers movies, and I like Shaw Brothers movies, honestly, because I like the world of Shaw Brothers. I like the fact that they're using the same sets over and over again, the same types of costumes, that they have similar themes across these films, similar visual styles. And I just like that it's like this unified world of Shaw. And I really love like the sets. And I really love, like, there are scenes in Shaw Brothers films where you can see like the seams on the like the walls, they're using like their studio walls, and they'll paint them for backdrops, and you can see the seams between the paint. And like I love just seeing the handmade nature of the films, the fact that people were in there in these studios making these sets, making these costumes. Like I just think it's so cool to think about that. And that's honestly the thing that really attracts me to Shaw Brothers more than the fighting, even though I love the fighting, is the zaniness of the world, like the insane weapons, the crazy plots, the maniacal villains, like really the same stuff that attracted me to movies in the first place, that attracted me to like James Bond movies and even like Schwarzenegger movies. And even if you want to go back to the Tim Burton Batman movie, you have this over-the-top crazy villain in the Joker who has crazy weapons and like the giant gun and the shocking thing where he electrocutes people and the insane plan to kill people with makeup, right? And like cosmetics. And Batman being this kind of crazy, aggressive, violent villain or hero rather, who's kind of nuts and like wears a costume. And like, I think you could see a lot of parallels between that and Shaw Brothers. And I think that my love of these films in a way all connects back to my early love of action films and genre films. So that's kind of in a nutshell my journey into martial arts films. I think I kind of covered everything there. But again, it really, in a lot of ways, my love of film is rooted in character, story, and technique, camera work, editing, the way that the medium of film is used to do something interesting, and also the imagination of the films and the craziness of the worlds and stuff like that. But then also the craziness of the physical ability and the innovative thinking of people like Jackie Chan and even Donnie Yen. Like some Donnie Yen films, like his physical ability is just insane. Like one of my favorite Donnie Yen fight scenes is in Flashpoint. I mean, the Colin Chu fight scene in Flashpoint is just mind-blowing and insane, right? And we all know that that's one of the greatest fight scenes ever. And I think really a revolutionary fight scene because it's like there's a lot of MMA stuff going on, like grappling and stuff like that, right? And I'm not the right person to talk about that because, again, I'm not a martial artist, but from what I understand, that's a really revolutionary fight scene. But the scene in that film where he fights the guy, I can't remember who it is, but he's got like the little girl and he runs into like it's like a little outdoor eating area, and he tries to throw a table or something at Donnie Yen, and Donnie Yen does a flying kick through the table. Like that kind of like stuff that combines martial arts, hard-hitting action, the physical ability of the performer, and just visually really, like it's really visually cool to see someone fly through the air and kick the shit out of a table, right? That's really exciting. And I think that's what I love about Jackie, is that Jackie is always using very visual things because he understands that film is a visual medium. They put like chalk and dust and stuff on their bodies. So when they get hit, there's like it pops up like that. And in Jackie movies, they're always smashing stuff, throwing things, jumping on stuff, using the scenery. Like Jackie, I think, really fundamentally understands that film is a visual medium and fight scenes should have visually arresting components to them. And that's what attracted me to Jackie. And that's something that I still love as a fan of cinema and as a fan of martial arts movies. So my name is Will. This is Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. This is a much delayed Origins Asian Cinema Circle video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I invite you in the comments to tell me what the kind of the thing that first interested you in martial arts cinema was, like the first movies that you loved, why you loved them, and all that stuff. I thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.